Well, the truth is, when I was finished playing college hockey, I just had enough. I was burnt out, and not so much of the training and everything else. It more was just going through the whole process of maybe not really agreeing with the way I was coached, and so when I got into coaching, I kind of did it for certain reasons, and my biggest one was to do it and coach for the kids. Everything was always about the kids, and I really didn't care about administration or the parents. It was just for the kids and trying to do what's best for them. And I've always kind of prided myself on coaching the way I would have wanted to be coached when I was a younger guy. Well, first off, if it's an opposing team, I'd encourage them not to use him because it's going to make it a lot harder for us. But for teams that are maybe struggling, I would encourage you to reach out immediately. He's direct. He's to the point. He kind of gets to the core of the problem immediately, and doesn't really beat around the bush at all. Like he'll address it right away, and he has a certain way of really talking to the players and making everything relevant to what's going on with the team and with them. And I mean, I've never met anybody better than him or more incredible than him. And when I hear he's going to be a part of what we're doing, like if he's going to be at a practice or a game, I mean, I'm excited to have him there and just learn every time I'm around him. You never know where it's going to go, for sure. But he definitely has a direction when he starts out his talks. The one thing about Dr. Eddie is when he talks, you're engaged. You might not be talking back to him a lot, but you feel engaged and you want to hear more and more of what he has to say all the time. He usually has some kind of funny stories that relate to what's going on and that help keep it entertaining and just help keep you involved and always. For me, I've always want to hear more and more about what he's going to say next. With the kids, like I really appreciate how he can relate to everybody, and I think I think something that I've always believed in. You have to kind of treat every kid differently. You can't treat them all the same, but there's some kids that are a little tougher to get the most out of them, and he came in with a couple of hard knock cases that we had, guys that really struggled the year before, and just seeing how he got the most out of them and kind of gets the most out of their heart. I mean, there's so much you can get from kids' hearts if you play to it the right way, and he's able to do that. Oh, he's energetic. He's funny. To me, he's hilarious, actually. He's very intelligent with what he has to say. He's composed up there. Eye contact. I mean, eye contact's always there. You feel like he's looking at you all the time, even though there's 50 or 100 people in the room. You always feel like he's talking directly to you and not the person beside you or not the person on the other side of the room. So you're just a part of everything that he's saying. Yeah, Dr. Eddie's, I think he does definitely tailor it for what you have. Like he'll meet with us before, and meeting with Dr. Eddie, we go over the things that we're struggling with and things that are going well. And so Dr. Eddie will always tailor to things that, he'll talk about things that are going well, but he'll really address the tough issues. And he will literally take some presentations that he has and figure out, okay, what will help right now and maybe adjust them immediately to really make them relate specifically to our team. Well, I think, the biggest thing I remember is, I guess it's a quick story of when we had come in after a pretty bad period, and not a bad period, we played okay, but our guys were getting frustrated because the other team was maybe taking an exception and it wasn't getting called by the refs. And I looked at him and I said, what do you think? What do you think we can do better? And that's something I really appreciate about him is he has a kind of a 10,000 foot perspective of stuff, and he just kind of looks on the broad perspective of, okay, this would be the most important thing. And the one thing he said was, tell your guys they can get angry and fight, or they can get angry and play. And even when I say it, like I actually got emotional saying it, because I went in and I used that with our guys, and it was unbelievable the response that we got from them. And we came out and probably played the best 5 minutes of hockey the next period, and that was kind of our standard that we played to for the rest of the year. Was, this is our goal, is to play at this level, and it's hard to get to that level, but it was something that I'll never forget. I think every time Dr. Eddie talks, you'll see that from our guys. I think, and he talked about, Dr. Eddie talked about it, that guys will nod when they understand and really get what you're saying, and you'll see just heads moving up and down, and not just because other heads are moving like a bobble doll. I mean, they're actually engaged and in the seat on the seat of the whatever, the edge of their seat. Sorry, and a lot of guys just want to put their hand up to volunteer and be involved, and he's not really pulling teeth to get people to get involved in what he's saying. Reinforcing the positive techniques, maybe a lot of times coaches are always critical of and always want their players to do better, and maybe don't praise them for what they've done, or they're doing well, maybe better than before. So something that we did incorporate was maybe just stopping, not when they're always doing something wrong, but just stopping and saying, hey, great job, you're doing this well, or you're doing that well, and then continuing on, and so the positive reinforcement really helped a lot. When we first blew the whistle to stop, right away the shoulders drop, and you're like, okay, now what are we doing wrong? But then when they hear the positive reinforcement, you actually get more out of them, and they'll work even harder for you. So I think a big catchphrase that we used was win, and what's important now. A lot of times, the game doesn't go well all the time, and so people will make terrible mistakes and want to hang their head, and you walk over to them, there's nothing you can do about it anymore, but it's more, we want to win, and so what's important now, and it's not looking back at our mistakes, but it's thinking, okay, how could we fix that, and then go out and make it better the next time. Commitment contract was something that Dr. Eddie did with our team in the beginning of the year. He came in and we talked about just things that our group thinks are super important to being successful for that year. And so they came up with a bunch of ideas. He combined ones into smaller catchphrases, and then actually he wrote it up, and I had all of our guys had to sign it. And by signing it, we were saying we're committing to that for the season. But I think the best thing that we did was that he really encouraged us to do was to constantly go back to it and use it over and over again, which makes it that much more powerful to remind them of what they talked about in the beginning of the year. And not that it was just, okay, we're going to do this and then forget about it, but it was, we're going to do this and then now we're held accountable to it. It was everything. It wasn't just core values, but it was, okay, here's how we're going to play, here's how we're going to act on the ice, here's how we're going to act off the ice, here's how we're going to treat each other. I mean, it was everything in one. As a result of the contract, our team was able to change the culture from the negative culture that we kind of had the previous year and the year before. And that was kind of our whole goal, was to get onto a good track, and the contract helped shift that immediately. And it was the closest knit team I've ever had, by far the closest knit team. And it's just the kind of team that you want them to win because they're such good guys and they want to win for each other. Well, for me, it's a continuous process. It doesn't end. I mean, he does his mental toughness in 60 seconds videos that you watch them, and there's always something you can take from it. I mean, sometimes you go to a presentation and you'll maybe learn something and then forget it and have it for a month or something. But with him, it's always reminding. It's always coming up with new things to think of, and he actually takes things. He took recently took one of my things my dad had talked about, and that's always worry about how you play, not who you're playing, and that was one of his mental toughness in 60 seconds, and it was really neat to hear it in the presentation, and then a couple weeks later, all of a sudden, it's on his mental toughness video, and it's something that we actually used with our team. Then after I had seen that again from him. So the first time we heard Dr. Eddie talk, there was an interview process between Dr. Eddie or his competitor, and the competitor went first, and then Dr. Eddie was second, and he showed up obviously wearing blue, which I caught right away. I'm like, oh, that's for Christian. But when he was done talking, he said, are there any questions? And I put my hand up immediately, and I said, will you be my assistant coach? And he didn't take me up on it that year, but it was great to have him be a part of us this past year, because I finally got my wish.